cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. So, I was thinking about something. You know, these terms, certain terms, prison terminology is thrown around and used on social media, and I hear it used in the wrong ways all the time. And you know that goes to so many people that have never been to prison, hearing certain words and just applying it to everything. And the one I want to focus on today is 50-50 yard, right? I hear this term 50-50 yard. And it honestly trips me out. And I'm going to speak again. I only speak from my personal experience, my prison experience, my life experience behind the walls, right? I remember when the Crip Mac was in prison and they said he was on a 50-50 yard. I remember them trying to say that Jap 5 was on a 50-50 yard, right? I don't know these guys' business. I just remember people saying that, right? And they're saying it out of hate. But what trips me out is, so the term 50-50 yard, now this is something that some of the black content creators could speak on. Maybe Chill could speak on it. Maybe Cartoon, he could look into it. He could speak on it. Nate Dogg 916, Hoodie from the Hood. Maybe you guys could speak on it and clarify and correct me if I'm wrong, okay? 50-50 yards only apply to whites and Mexicans because of their politics. Blacks don't have 50-50 yards. Blacks can go to a yard that Mexicans consider a 50-50 yard, or that Mexicans and whites consider a 50-50 yard, but it has nothing to do with black politics. Since when did blacks have yards that they considered 50-50 yards? And I'm going to give you an example. When I got out of the SHU in 1997, I've already spoken about when I got out of the SHU in 1997. When I got out of the SHU in 1997, myself and I believe it was 6 other raza from Southern California were all endorsed and sent to Tehachapi. Tehachapi was the original 50-50 yard, right? And while there was 7 of us from down south on that bus, there were also whites. There were also blacks. I don't remember if there was any others, but I remember there was raza, there was blacks, and there was whites. Okay? And every one of us, the raza, we knew we were going down there to put in work. And I believe I talked about everybody on that bus with us, out of the 7 of us, was my age, except one. And the one that was an older cat had a long, very violent history in the system going back to the 70s, right? And I looked at the vatos my age, and I just felt like, you know, these are good dudes, but this right here, going to Tehachapi, who's potentially going to be there, is going to be worth some points. And so I approached the older homie, and him and my older homeboy from Santa Barbara knew each other from San Quentin in the 70s. And so my homeboy had put something in my ear like, hey, this vato right here is really serious, so you might want to hang around with him. And I told him, when we were in R&R, I said, look, Holmes, when we go down there, like I'm really trying to catch a body, Holmes. And he said, so am I. And I said, well, why don't we sell up, Holmes? Because I don't know if they're trying to, like, I know all these homies are going to whack somebody, but I don't know if that's, like, where their mind is. But, so he and I had an understanding. We were going to go down there, and we were going to figure out who's the best target immediately, and we were going to do our best to try to kill him, right? And this was a time where, so we were the very first bus. So Pelican Bay was the very first bus. We had all got out of the SHU and got sent to B facility, and from B facility, we transferred down to Tehachapi. every week, a new bus came. So it was Pelican Bay was first, and then I think it was High Desert, then it was New Folsom, then it was Salinas Valley, and it just kept rotating back to Pelican Bay. Another bus from High Desert, and every time they would unload a bus of us coming from these 180s, they would load the bus with dudes that were no good, that were on that yard. That was a 50-50 yard. And I bring that up because not one of the blacks got off because their people weren't deemed any no good. The whites and the Mexicans on that yard that we landed on were deemed no good. And now there were youngsters, dudes that would come from reception. They were not in bad standings, right? They just didn't have any schooling because they left reception and landed straight on that yard, and they got fooled by the dudes because there were some dudes that were ex-legends, ex-soldados, that had so much more game and would mess these kids' heads up. And then we started going down there, and we would give them the opportunity, like, hey, Holmes, these vatos right here, we're about to thrill them. Like, these vatos ain't what they're telling you they are. And then they'd see, vatos start whacking all the. I mean, it was a bloodbath. I think only one dude on the bus that I went down, very first, I think only one dude didn't catch a sticking, and that's because they transferred him out. So I don't know what happened, but they transferred him out before he could do something. And they transferred him to, I believe it was New Corcoran, and then he whacked somebody there because he knew he had been on Tehachapi long enough to catch something, so he caught it as soon as he got to the new place. But when did this whole blacks being affected by the term 50-50 yard, when did that take place? To me, this is just another example of people applying labels to other people when it doesn't even fit. Black politics don't dictate yards like that. The Mexicans and the whites will, on their own. It's not the administration. It's not the CDC doing it. It's the legends saying that facility. You could have a whole prison, right? But there's only one facility, and they'll say, yeah, that place, you can't be there. The administration is still going to send you there. They know what you're going to do. They don't give a fuck. It's job security for them. But so to me, it just today I thought, what, let me just bring this up because I heard it again recently. I don't know who they were talking about. I missed the name when they were saying, and it was another black dude, and they were talking about a 50. It might have been Blueface. I don't know. But I remember hearing it, and I was like, why aren't any black content creators talking about this? Like, am I wrong now? Because I know when I was, when I went to Tehachapi, none of them, and look at, I talked about this. They set me up, right? They're validating my Sally. They think my Sally is a legend, right? And then me, they set me up and put me on. So the Southerners had what was called the control compatible yard, where it was only Southerners. Later, they brought skinheads onto the yard. But the Southerners were the only group in Tehachapi, I'd say, in 97 that had a control compatible yard, meaning no one goes on that yard but Southerners. Everyone else went to yard together. The blacks were going to yard with the no good Mexicans and no good whites and all the no goods, right? And they would program because it wasn't their politics. People out here want to say, oh man, you it's weird to me. But anyways, they set me up. Those yards were called the reintegrated mixed yard. I was assigned to the control compatible yard, obviously, right? But they were releasing the reintegrated mixed yard, and they came to my cell and caught me slipping, right? So they were like, hey, come on, you got yard. I go out there. As soon as I went out there, I went straight to the back of the yard. The first cell that was let out on that yard with me was blacks. Again, they don't have anything to do with Mexican politics. So I had no intentions, no inclination to get off on them. Why? There's going to be Mexicans coming onto the yard, and that's what needs to be dealt with. So when they came out, I asked them, I said, hey, Holmes, what Mexicans are coming out right now? And they knew immediately by me asking that question, they knew, oh, this dude's going to get off. And they told me who was coming out next. They came out, I got off. And so, again, and this was in the 90s when the CDC was a whole lot more wild, right? So I'm trying to understand, because there's a lot of terms that I hear people who are not, I'm not going to get into it, but people who are not Mexican or white, I hear them using terms like dropout, 50-50 yard, and it blows my mind to hear groups that don't politic the same as whites and Mexicans use those terms, because they don't use those terms against their own people. And so this video is just, I guess like an open invitation for some of the black content creators. Damian Porter, I forgot to mention his name. He could speak to it too, because see, like when I said maybe Cartoon could do, because I know Cartoon's been out of the system for so long. But you got Nate Dogg 916, you got Damian Porter, you got a Hoodie Hood, you got Chill. These dudes were in the system more recently and can speak to it. Is there such a thing as a 50-50 yard for the blacks? And how does that fit in? Because they don't politic the same. They don't deem yards no good the way Mexicans and whites do. So if things haven't changed and they're still the same, why do certain creators bring up, oh, what, Jap 5 is on a 50-50 yard, or China Mac? I mean, not China Mac. What's his name? Fucking 5. What's his name? I can't even remember his name. C-Mac, Crip Mac, China Mac, Crip Mac, him, Blueface. Why do they bring that stuff up other than to tear people down, right? That's the whole motivation, is to tear them down and try to lessen their stature within whoever looks up to them. It doesn't work. When people try to tear people down like that, it never works. It backfires. And so, I just thought about it this morning, and I said, you know what, let me pose this question. And also let me clarify, because I don't know when the black politics started deeming yards no good. They've always been able to go to any yard they want and program how they program and how they function. Mexican politics don't dictate any of their program. White politics don't dictate any of their program. So when did 50-50 yards become a thing for blacks? That's an open question for all you guys to put in your 2 cents and clarify it for the rest of us that are kind of like scratching our head, like, when did this happen? And when did the politics change so drastically? And then if they did, are people getting killed the way the Mexicans and whites do it for those infractions, or at least, getting them helicoptered off the yard? Or like, I'm curious. This is no put down or anything. This is just a serious question. When did that come into effect? And if it didn't, why are certain YouTube celebrities being tagged or painted in a negative light for something that doesn't apply to their group? That's my video for today, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. I'm out of here.